after death. This is meant to be understood as a moment of proof, not to be taken for granted. In 1859, a petition was submitted to Congress with over 15,000 signatures requesting a committee be formed to investigate the phenomena of spiritualism. It was voted down. That was a very critical mistake for our country. But 10 years later, overseas in jolly old England, the London Dialectical Society resolved to appoint a subcommittee to examine and report on the pretensions of spiritualism. Exactly 10 years after that great petition was voted down in America, the English proceeded to investigate this matter. This brings us to your handout of the report from the subcommittee of the London Dialectical Society, made up of lawyers, scientists, doctors, authors, artists, and shrewd men of business and their wives. I will read the findings of their investigations and their conclusions in their own words. A protracted series of careful experiments has proved the existence of certain phenomena. These phenomena appear to indicate the existence of a force hitherto unrecognized proceeding from the human organism. The asserted phenomena are true or false. If they're true, they demand investigation to ascertain their origin. If they sustain the suggestion of a psychic force, or if not, to what other source can they be traced? If false, they should be exploded forever, not by mere denial, but by the detection of exposure of the contrivances by which they are produced. In the one case, the world will profit by an enormous addition to human knowledge. In the other case, it will be benefited by the banishment of a vast amount of superstition and imposture. For either end, the duties of science are the same: a careful, extensive, patient, and unprejudiced examination. The London Dialectical Society resolved to appoint a committee to examine and report upon the pretensions of spiritualism. It was our confident belief that the alleged phenomena were, number one, self-delusion by the spectator, or number two, imposture by the psychic, or number three, involuntary and unconscious muscular action. With our mind thus prejudiced against the reality of the phenomena, we proceeded to this investigation. I will read that report now. The report of the subcommittee. Do I need to put the air conditioning on? Is it hot? Where are you all at? Since their appointment on the 16th of February, 1869, your subcommittee have held 40 meetings for the purpose of experiment and test. All of these meetings were held at private residences of members of the committee, purposely to preclude the possibility of prearranged mechanism or contrivance. The furniture of the room in which the experiments were conducted was on every occasion its accustomed furniture. The tables, in all cases, heavy dining tables requiring a strong effort to move them. The smallest of them was 5 feet long, 5 feet 9 inches long by 4 feet wide, and the largest was 9 feet 3 inches long and 4.5 feet wide, and of proportionate weight. The rooms, tables, and furniture generally were repeatedly subjected to careful examination before, during, and after the experiments, to ascertain that no concealed machinery, instrument, or other contrivance existed by means of which the sounds or movements hereinafter mentioned could be caused. The experiments were conducted in the light of gas, except on a few occasions specially noted in the minutes. Your committee have avoided the employment of professional or paid mediums, the mediumship being that of the members of your subcommittee, persons of good social position and of unimpeachable integrity, having no pecuniary object to gain by deception. Your committee have held some meetings without the presence of a medium, it being understood that throughout this report The word medium is used simply to designate an individual without whose presence the phenomena described either do not occur at all or with greatly diminished force and frequency. Purposely to try if they could produce by any efforts effects similar to those witnessed when a medium was present. By no endeavors were they enabled to produce anything at all resembling the manifestation which took place in the presence of a medium. Every test that the combined intelligence of your committee could devise has been tried with patience and perseverance. The experiments were conducted over a great variety of conditions, and ingenuity has been exerted in devising plans by which your committee might verify their observations and preclude the possibility of imposture or of delusion. Your committee have confined their reports to facts witnessed by them in their collective capacity, which facts were palpable to the senses and their reality capable of demonstrative proof. Of the members of your subcommittee, about 4/5 entered upon the investigation as to the reality of the alleged phenomena, firmly believing them to be the result of either imposture or of delusion or of involuntary muscular action. It was only by irresistible evidence under conditions that precluded the possibility of either of these solutions, and after trial and test many times repeated, that the most skeptical of your subcommittee were slowly and reluctantly convinced that the phenomena exhibited in the course of their protracted inquiry were veritable facts. The result of their long continued and carefully conducted experiments, after trial by every detective test they could devise, has been to establish conclusively, first, that under certain bodily or mental conditions of one or more of the person's presence, a force is exhibited sufficient to set in motion heavy substances without the employment of any muscular force, without contact or material connection of any kind between such substances and the body of any person present. Second, that this force can cause sounds to proceed, distinctly audible to all present, from solid substances not in contact with nor having any visible or material connection with the body of any person present, and which sounds are proved to proceed from such substances by the vibrations which are distinctly felt when they are touched. Third, that this force is frequently directed by intelligence. At 34 out of the 40 meetings of your committee, some of these phenomena occurred. A description of one experiment and the manner of conducting it will best show the care and caution with which your committee have pursued their investigations. So long as there was contact or even the possibility of contact by the hands or feet or even the clothes of any person in the room with the substance moved or sounded, there could be no perfect assurance that the motions and sounds were not produced by the person so in contact. The following experiment was therefore tried. On an occasion when 11 members of your subcommittee had been sitting round one of the dining room tables above described for 40 minutes, and various motions had taken and various motions and sounds had occurred, they, by way of test, turned the backs of their chairs to the table at about 9 inches from it. All right, so this is it. This is where they proved that spirit could move a table with no one touching it. So they turned the backs of their chairs to the table at about 9 inches from it. They all then knelt upon their chairs, placing their arms upon the backs thereof. In this position, their feet were, of course, turned away from the table, and by no possibility could be placed under it or touch the floor. The hands of each person were extended over the table at about 4 inches from the surface. Contact, therefore, with any part of the table could not take place without detection. In less than a minute, untouched, moved 4 times, at first about 5 inches to one side, then about 12 inches to the opposite side, and then in a like manner 4 inches and 6 inches respectively. The hands of all present were next placed on the backs of their chairs and about a foot from the table, which again moved as before, 5 times over spaces varying from 4 to 6 inches. Then all the chairs were removed 12 inches from the table, and each put his chair as before, this time, however, folding his hands behind his back, his body being thus about 18 inches from the table, and having the back of the chair between himself and the table. How do you like that for scientific experiment? Pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
Just this table and a chair. You know, solving the great riddle of life.
As simple as it gets.
It's pretty great. The table again moved 4 times in various directions. In the course of this conclusive experiment, and in less than a half an hour, the table thus moved without contact or possibility of contact with any person present 13 times, the movements being in different directions, and some of them according to the request of various members of your subcommittee. So you could just say, okay, Spirit, move it to the left, or move it forward, and the Spirit would do it. So that was part of the test, I guess.
Part of the proof. Proof is in the pudding, right?
The table was then carefully examined, turned upside down, and taken to pieces, but nothing was discovered to account for the phenomena. The experiment was conducted throughout in the full light of gas above the table. Altogether, your subcommittee have witnessed upwards of 50 similar motions without contact on 18 different evenings in the houses of members of your subcommittee, the most careful tests being applied on each occasion. In all similar experiments, the possibility of mechanical or other contrivance was further negatived by the fact the movements were in various directions, now to one side, then to the other, now up the room, now down the room, motions that would have required the cooperation of many hands or feet, and these, from the great size and weight of the tables, could not have been so used without the visible exercise of muscular force. Every hand and foot could be plainly to be seen, and could not have been moved without instant detection. Delusion was out of the question. The motions were in various directions and were witnessed simultaneously by all present. They were matters of measurement and not by opinion or fancy, and they occurred so often under so many and such various conditions, with such safeguards against error or deception, and with such invariable results as to satisfy members of your subcommittee by whom the experiments were tried, wholly skeptical as most of them were when they entered upon the investigation, that there is a force capable of moving heavy bodies without material contact, and which force is in some unknown manner dependent upon the presence of human beings. So that was one of their findings, right there. There is a force capable of moving heavy bodies without material contact, and which force in some unknown manner dependent upon the presence of a human being. So Clifford Bias said, you know you're a physical medium if you walk into a room and a wooden table moves towards you.
Yes.
So that's part of that rationale. Your subcommittee have not collectively obtained any evidence as to the nature and source of this force, but simply as a fact to its existence. There appears to your committee to be no ground for the popular belief that the presence of skeptics interferes in any manner with the production or action of the force, because they were skeptics and it still happened. In conclusion, your committee expressed their unanimous opinion that the one important physical fact thus proved to exist, that motion may be produced in solid bodies without material contact by some hitherto unrecognized force operating within an undefined distance from the human organism and beyond the range of muscular action. This should be investigated. This should be subjected to further scientific examination with a view to ascertain its true source, nature, and power. So that was it. That was it. It was simple. I mean, I got the books. They went into it deeper. But if you caught what was going on, it was pretty amazing. I know one of their experiences when two people were holding a piece of paper by the corners, and then the wrapping would happen on the paper. You could hear ch-ch-ch. So they tried all kinds of things, and they were successful. So the subcommittee's findings helped fuel the acceptance of spirit return, known as modern spiritualism. In dedication to the pioneers of modern spiritualism, a hardy race, and the youth of the new dispensation, that's us, who are reaping the joy what their forebears have sown in tears. So that pretty much concludes what I wanted to share. Maybe I got one more little thing to share, and if anyone wants to add, I mean, I could read more, but I don't think it's going to say much. But people smarter than I have stated that a dumb table has proven immortality of the human soul, perhaps as significant as a stone being rolled away at the tomb of Jesus. And I end that thought for you. Thank you very much.
He had a table. Unfortunately, I didn't inherit it. I don't know where